Well, welcome to the Daily Agenda. Now, it's attracted a great deal of controversy, hasn't it? Tommy's state visit to Israel. Very interesting. Yes, who's he representing? Is it Ireland? Because he is an Irish citizen with an Irish passport, and on that passport it says place of birth Ireland. We all thought he was born in Luton, but apparently it says Ireland. Is that something else he's rigged? Something else he's forged, who knows? But anyway, he's an Irish citizen and he has an Irish passport, so he's not really representing Britain as such, is he? So when he sits before a Zionist who tells him that there's a special place in hell for Britain and the British because of 1948 and the recognition of the state of Palestine, well, quite frankly, there's a special place in hell for all Zionists, isn't there? Particularly those who murdered a raft of British soldiers. They should apologise for that. And what did the little Irish rebel do? Sorry, Irish junkie? He sat there and took it like a bitch. Just sat there and took it, whimpering, quivering. This is what money does to people. This is what corruption does to lesser men. And what Tommy Robinson has done, Stephen Lennon, what he's done on this so-called state visit to Israel is shown himself up to be a completely, utterly weak, pathetic little man, a rule-taking bitch who deserves no respect whatsoever. And this visit, so-called, for want of a better description, has in actual fact done him a great deal of harm here in Britain. Great deal of harm. In fact, one of his ardent supporters, or former supporters, Dean Neal, with a large amount of support, actually accused him of treason today on his Instagram channel. And there's over 70,000 people on that channel. And Dean obviously carries a great deal of support, a great deal of sway. And yes, there's no flattering comments for Tommy. And it's all over social media. Social media is alive with it, the buzz talk, and most of it is abuse, contempt and abuse. So if he thought going to Israel and behaving in this manner was going to make him some sort of hero figure when he came back here, well, we can only answer it with this. Why is he coming back to Britain? He should be going to Ireland. He's got an Irish passport. He's an Irish citizen. What's he doing living? Oh, sorry, he doesn't live here, does he? He lives in Spain. He's an Irish citizen living in Spain, grifting off morons, quite frankly. And if you go to Rumble, and it's the same username on Rumble, thedailyagenda.co.uk, as it were, you'll find the video I made there about Tommy's grifting, the organised criminal gang, and the extent to which his children are living in the lap of luxury. And they're not experiencing any financial hardship of any description. They're just lording it up over the plebs who give them their hard-earned money. Well, my attitude towards that is if they're stupid enough to hand over this money voluntarily, then they deserve to be robbed, quite frankly. But being robbed, they most definitely are, by Rob and Sob. And this performance is by far the most humiliating. It has been a ritual humiliation. They've taken their little goy-slop puppet over to Israel on a state-funded visit and ritually humiliated him, and he's just sat there and taken it. And this performance before the two women who harangued him about how he'd made Jews in Britain feel uncomfortable. He's done nothing other than suck up to Jews for years, hasn't he? English and Jewish Defence League, perhaps is where it began. It's an obvious clue, isn't it? Perhaps not. But anyway, perhaps not an obvious clue to all the the lemmings who've taken to worshipping this con man, this Irish grifter junkie. And we've got nothing good to say about him, obviously, as you can say, and why would we? So, yes, he just sat there and took that as well and said meekly, oh, well, I feel much more educated now that I've been to the Auschwitz Education Museum. Boo-hoo. Very interesting. Do they have a Holodomor Education Museum anywhere that Tommy could visit? So that he could understand the nature of the over 10 million people who were mass murdered in the Holodomor genocide by Judeo-Bolsheviks, no less. These perfect people, those chosenites, that Tommy worships so much and makes excuses for around the clock. I'd much rather visit a Holodomor remembrance, quite frankly, or a memorial. There must be one somewhere. Surely there's one in Britain somewhere. In fact, I've got the Holodomor badge at home. I bought it with the book about the Holodomor mass murder. Yes, absolutely. It's well documented. All the chief architects of the Holodomor mass murder. I noticed that none of these Zionists who harangued him in Israel even mentioned it. I mean, why would they? Nor did they mention the fact that in 1919, the vast majority of Zionists who entered the region of Palestine, because that's what it really is, it's not Israel, it's the region of Palestine, were actually Judeo-Bolsheviks fresh from the Red Terror in Russia. You know? Perhaps we should just, try to understand exactly why the Holocaust in World War II happened and what preceded it. It was the Red Terror in the Russian Federation as we know it today, and the Holodomor. The NKVD, Lavrenti Beria, Kaganovich. Look, the list is endless, because I'm sure when I'm talking to nationalists, I know I'm talking to people who understand. But in truth, Tommy never mentions these matters. He just glosses over them because he's a good little goy-slop boy. That's all he is. He's absolutely pathetic. A disgusting little man, quite frankly. And he is an absolute disgrace to Ireland, not to England, not to Britain, because he's an Irish citizen with an Irish passport living in Spain, masquerading as a British nationalist, aided and abetted, funded, pumped and promoted by Zionist Jews. Like Ezra Levant, for example, or the aspirational Jew Elon Musk. Yes, I owe my entire existence to Uncle Elon. Uncle Elon saved me, says little Tommy. Yeah, saved him from what exactly? Certainly didn't save him from cocaine addiction, did he? I don't think anything could save him from cocaine addiction. And nothing very clearly can save him from an even worse humiliation. The ritual humiliation of this utterly appalling visit to Israel, where he has represented Ireland, not Britain. Remember, he is an Irish citizen with an Irish passport. He's not a British citizen with a British passport, and he lives in Spain. It's just that he gets prosecuted here routinely for breaching English law, and does some pantomime prison sentences here and grifts millions out of it, and then goes back to Spain. And then occasionally comes back, usually once every 18 months, 2 years, to do another pantomime prison sentence, grifts a load more money. Ezra Levant grifts a load more money with him as well. Speaking of which, see, wasn't Ezra subjected to a pantomime assault in Ireland? The brave, heroic Ezra Levant. What's he doing in Ireland? Oh, yes, of course. He's playing the divide and conquer routine again, isn't he? Urging the Irish to drive out the nationalists so that the Jewish Zionists, yes, that's right, the Jewish Zionists, can have absolute control over any form of rebellion to ensure that it does not succeed, which is the whole point of Tommy Robinson and Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib and Nigel fake Farage. They're all the same, these people. Nigel Farage, well, I stand with Israel. Just ignore the genocide. Ignore the genocide completely. Ignore broadcasting and Ofcom rules about fairness and balance. I stand with Israel. He's said it several times, quite openly, on GB Spews. Absolutely. And of course, if we look into the people who own that, well, of course, most of them aren't British either, are they? And these clowns who think these foreigners come here to save Britain, to do anything positive and beneficial for the British, they're just living in a dream world. But this has been a great performance, in truth. Napoleon said, never interrupt an enemy while he's making a mistake, and that's what Tommy's done here. So I don't see a downside to this so-called state visit to Israel, because he has actually inflicted a great deal, a huge amount of self-harm. He's turned people against him, which once loved him, once supported him, and would have fought for him and probably even died for him. Now they hate him with a passion. And so Tommy's situation here now is far more perilous than it was before. And he has no one to blame other than himself. And if the little junkie had any sense whatsoever, and I very much doubt he has after this utterly shameful, embarrassing for him, that is, performance in Israel, he'd pack his bags permanently and go off to Spain. and just tell everyone he's an Irish citizen with an Irish passport, and he loves Ireland, and he's a Fenian, and he supports the IRA. Pira. Why don't you just say that quite openly? You know, but he won't, will he? Because Tommy's business is all about deceit and connivance, trickery, lying, and luring people into pick a pocket or two. In fact, there was talk that there was going to be a new soap made, docu-soap, called Oliver Twist 2, in which Ezra Avant would play Fagin, obviously, and Tommy would play the Artful Dodger. In it, bruv. Because they like to pick a pocket or two with the Bible grip. That's right, they're just ripping people off. That's all it is. Just a giant scam which funds their safety valve operation designed to keep the whole of right-wing politics collectively divided and at each other's throats. Well, to tell you the truth, with performances like this, it really is a very, very bad strategy. And this visit has been a boon for nationalists. I mean, we couldn't have scripted this better had we tried. And we've sat back the whole time laughing at him. Just laughing at him. You know, the extent to which he's walked around with his chin on the floor, you know, taking it like a bitch. The so-called great heroic Tommy Robinson, taking it like a bitch, afraid to say anything back in return. Wouldn't defend the British. Now, pathetic. Now, the only thing the British did wrong, quite frankly, in the context of Israel, was the Balfour Declaration and handing over a tract of land which was never Britain's to give. Was never Britain's to give. It should never have happened. It was disgraceful. And when Tommy is talking about these people, just remember these Sturgan and Haganah actually tried to kill my father before I was conceived, long before he married my mother, in actual fact. He was in a Royal Navy boarding party on HMS Peacock, intercepting ships running guns to Zionist terrorists, which were being used to kill British soldiers. Yeah, so absolutely. So when some rabid little Zionist sits in front of Tommy and says there's a special place in hell for Britain and the British, well, that's my father they're talking about. That's my father they're talking about. So how do you think that I would respond to it? See, I am English. I'm British. I'm not Irish. I don't have an Irish passport. I don't give a damn about Ireland and the Irish. Is that perfectly clear? And that includes Stephen Lennon. I am British. I am English. That's what I care about, my nation. I don't give a damn about Israel at all, in any way, shape or form. I think what has happened in that region of the world has been utterly despicable, quite frankly, but it should never be our business at all to interfere in any way, shape or form. And I would say this, there is definitely a special place in hell for Tommy Robinson after that performance. And that hell is entirely self-contrived. It's entirely of his own making. So people who are really angry about it, look on the bright side, which is what I do, strategically, tactically thinking. The man has done us a great deal of good. He's committed a massive, massive strategic own goal. What's not to like about it? Thank you for tuning into the Daily Agenda. And we won't be asking for any donations either, because we're not grifters and we don't live off donations. Nighty night.